In this video, we're going to look at a few tips and tools which might help us to work with precise measurements, concrete numbers in Blender. This is especially helpful if you use Blender for architectural projects or mechanical or engineering projects, where you always need precise numbers and concrete measurements to make your model, right? So let's go. I'd like to mention one thing before we start this video. This lesson is not for complete beginners. This is for someone who already knows how to use Blender and those who need some help with working with precise numbers. So let's go. So how do we work with precise numbers or measurements in Blender? I would highlight or outline the main important topics that we're going to cover in this video, and then we'll move into Blender and kind of practice those things right inside of Blender. So the first thing we need to talk about is the grid system. We need to understand the grid system well. Some people understand, some people not. Some people think they understand, but actually they don't. So we will learn how to snap to the grid and some coordinate systems. And then we'll look at measurement tools and units. And then we will learn how to precisely put any vertex in any location in the global orientation, global coordinate system. And then we will talk about a little about snapping tools, more snapping tools. And also, if you're using multiple programs alongside Blender, you might want to make something in Blender and export and import. And in this case, there might be differences. For example, you made something which is 4 meters long in Blender, and when you import it into another software, another another program, and suddenly your model is not 4 meters, but it's 4 centimeters or maybe 4 kilometers. This is why you need to know exactly what kind of difference you have between Blender and your program. So I can't help you here. I can just remind you that this might happen, but you must do your research and find what kind of difference you have. Now let's go into Blender, talk about grid system. Now I'm inside Blender, and look at this floor and squares, right? This is called the grid, and we need to know the measurement here, the length of each square, each side of the square, right? This is 1 meter square. You might already know this. So, and this cube is 2 meter cube. So the length, height, the width, all 2 meters. And you also need to know the axis. You probably know this. X, Y, you can turn them on and off, or you can even turn Z axis on. And you can turn off floor if you don't need in perspective view. And you can change the scale, which we are not going to do. So, and the next thing you need to know is the grid is different in perspective view, which is the view that the human eye usually sees the world. And there is another view, I assume that you already know. This is orthographic view. Again, this video is not for complete beginners. This is for someone who already used Blender. Why am I mentioning this? Because in orthographic view, you might see more squares inside these larger squares. So as I said, this is 1 meter, right? And this is 2 meters, right? So this is 1 meter, and if you look, there are more squares inside. So there are actually 10 squares inside. So 1 meter divided by 10, it's 10 centimeters. Each square is 10 centimeters. Let's get rid of this. And in orthographic view, 1, 3, 7. And if you press them, you go into orthographic view and you see more of the grid. And if you go closer, you will see even smaller squares inside each of these small squares. So these are now 1 centimeters. And if you go even closer, we have even smaller squares, and these are 1 millimeters. Why am I reminding this, or why am I talking about this? Because in Blender we can snap to grid. So which means we can increase the scale or extrude something by 1 millimeter at a time by snapping to the grid. Now let's look at how we can snap the vertices of the model to the grid. So let's go into edit mode by pressing tab Shift Z to look in wireframe view. You can select everything and put it somewhere around here. So now you want to put this precisely in this big square, right? You eyeball it and you put it right here, right? You think that it's exactly in the correct place, but if you press Shift plus B and go closer here, you can see it's not precisely in the correct place, right? So you need to, you can snap this to here. So you can turn on snapping for this, turn on snapping and select these vertices and try to snap. But if you try, it doesn't want to snap exactly on this here, right? It doesn't want to snap. For this, you need to turn on one more thing, open snapping options and turn on absolute grid snapping. So now select these two vertices and come here. As you can see, it automatically snaps in the correct place. So you can snap this here, snap this one there, and this one here. So that's it. Now we snapped. Now this way you can do a lot of things. If you understand that this is, for example, 4 meters, right? And this is, let's say, 3 meters, right? If you know this, and with this knowledge and with the knowledge of absolute grid snapping, you can already work more precisely than before, right? GY, you can snap here, GY, you can snap here, GY, no, X, and snap this here. And now you can be sure that this room is, let's say, 4 meters long, 3 meters wide, and 2 meters high. Now the next thing that I'd like to show you is measurement tools. Now the next thing that we will learn is come here to edit mode overlays, as you can see here, and we have measurement tools here. You can turn on edge length and you can see it is 3.2 and M. If you don't see it very well, we can change the theme of Blender themes in dark gray or deep gray. It is more visible. And now if you select these, you can go closer and you can GZ, and here if you look carefully here you can see the number, right? So 3.2, 325 and 3, let's say 40, let's do it 340. So 3 meters, 40 centimeters. If we go even closer and GZ, you can see even smaller details. So 342. Now, what if you want to show this in, not in meters, but in centimeters or even millimeters, right? You can do this. You can come here to scene properties and just expand this units options, and here you have unit system, metric for American units, imperial for British, and here you have length. And if you look carefully, this is in meters, you can change it to centimeters. Now, as you can see, it's 343 centimeters. So in centimeters, or you can even use, you can show this in millimeters, or even in micrometers, right? Or you can come even closer, and as you can see, in millimeters. You can see this in millimeters, right? So it's 3,530, 40, let's say, millimeters. Now you have precise numbers here, right, in millimeters. Now what I'd like to show you is the next thing, which is vertex location. What if I want this to be not 356 centimeters, but 356 centimeters and 3 millimeters or 4 millimeters, right? What I need to do, I should go even closer and GZ, and I should do that, right? Like, let's say millimeters, GZ, like that, 64 millimeters, for example. So this is not very, it's good. It's not the best thing, right? You need to go closer and closer if you want to increase. So one thing is just to input numbers, right? How can we do this? Well, that's easy. Now I'm going to show that. Let's turn off edge length. By the way, you have other things here. You can, for example, one of the most useful one is this face area. You can see the area of the face, not in millimeters, let's say in meters, for example, 12 meters, square meters here, 12 square meters, 14.3 square meters. So you can check that too. Let's turn this off. Now I'd like to make the height of my wall 3 meters and 56 centimeters and 4 millimeters, let's say, right? So we can do this. For that, you hit N and you can see this item, and here you can see everything. Let's go to vertices. Let's select this vertex, for example. The next thing was vertex location, as I mentioned. So now we are going to talk about vertex location. If I select this vertex, and a little about coordinate system too. So select this vertex location, if you know a little math, the location in 3D space is calculated like that, X, Y, and Z, right? In X, it is standing at 0, right? Because from above, this is 0, this is, let's say, 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? And this is x-axis, by the way. This is y-axis, I'm sorry. And this is 0 in y-axis. This point is 0, right? 1, 2, 3, and so on. And this is z-axis, and this is 0. This is 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? So if you understand this coordinate system, you can tell where this vertex is staying in 3D space. So this vertex is, it is 0 in X, it is 3 meters in Y, and it is 3 meters and 56 centimeters and 4 millimeters, as you can see. If you change this meters to millimeters, you will see everything in millimeters. So let's change it back to, let's say, centimeters, 356 centimeters and 4 millimeters. So the height, right? Now we can change this. For example, let's put everything just like that. For example, let's say I want this to be 400 centimeters. Let's say 420 centimeters and 4 millimeters, let's say, as you can see. I have just changed it, and all of these vertices are exactly at that position, as you can see. So this way we can kind of tell Blender where to put any vertex exactly in 3D space. Select these vertices, and in X, this is, let's say, length. In X, I'll put them in 600 centimeters. And the height will be, let's say, 320 centimeters and 6 millimeters, let's say. What if you want to build a kind of wall? Let's turn this off for now. The width of the wall, let's say, will be 42 millimeters, 42 centimeters and 4 millimeters, let's say. Along this X, we will put that 42.4, let's say, right, millimeters. So this is the width of the wall. Of course, Blender and any other software might be imprecise, especially with really big numbers. So be careful with this. If you want model something, I don't know, maybe molecule or something very small. I just wanted to mention this. And also I'd like to mention that there are some add-ons which might help you to work precisely, like in CAD programs, right? So a little math and a little knowledge of these tools, and you will be able to create anything. Another bonus tip for you, let's create something here, and I'd like to make it 1 meter, 25 centimeters and 5 millimeters, let's say. 1 meter, 25 centimeters and 5 millimeters. Let's say if you are in meters, you can do this. Look, 125.5 cm, and boom, you have this. I mean, you don't have to calculate it in meters and write the number in meters. You can write whatever number you can calculate and put centimeters if you calculated it in your mind in centimeters, or you can put mm for millimeters if you calculate that in millimeters. That's even helpful, and this will give you even better precision. So it's a really good way to kind of input exact numbers if you want. And one thing I almost forgot to mention is these two options. Remember, we are in local, but the calculations should be in global usually. Now, if I change this to global, nothing changes, because local means all the measurements are based on or calculated from or in relation to the object's origin. Now the object's origin is exactly in the center of the world, which is the world origin, right? So if you move gx, this building somewhere, and the object origin moved, now if I come here and if I select, for example, this vertex in x direction, right? It's 1, 2, 3. It should be somewhere in 13 meters, right? But look at this. It is 6 meters. It's not 13 meters, because it is calculating from the origin of the object, which is here. So if you change it to global, and then you will see that it's 13 meters away from the origin. So if you move your object in object mode and you have the origin somewhere that you don't want, you can easily right click and set origin to the 3D cursor, right? If your 3D cursor is there. If your 3D cursor is somewhere else, you can press Shift C to bring the 3D cursor to the center of the world, and then right click, set origin to 3D cursor. This way, even if you are in local, you can see that it is in 13 centimeters, because now the origin point and the world origin are in one place. So now let's talk a little about snapping, because snapping is a really big topic. And by the way, if you want to learn everything about snapping and everything about everything in Blender, you can check out my full course on Udemy or in Blender Market. On Udemy, you will have a big discount if you follow the link below the video, or if you want to support this channel, and not only this channel but also Blender, you can buy my course on Blender Market, and this way you will support Blender too. So go ahead and check them out. This way you will support me and this channel. So thank you, and let's continue. I will tell you a little about this. For example, we can change from increment and absolute grid snap to vertex snapping. So it's important. For example, if you ever made a mistake and kind of messed things up, you can fix them. For example, these are in correct place, but these are kind of moved. You moved them by accident, or you don't know what you did, but when you see it's moved, it happens a lot. So you can do this. So select this vertex and turn on snapping, vertex snapping, and you press GX and select this vertex, GZ and select this vertex, and you snapped it in a really good place. Now select this vertex GX, but do not simply move. For example, if you turn on vertex snapping and simply move onto this vertex, it will be a mistake, because these two vertices now will be on the same spot. So you'll just do GX, GZ, GY and stuff like that. GZ, for example, and this, GX, and this. I put it in the correct place. So yeah, vertex snapping is also really cool, really useful, I mean. So yeah, again, if you want to check out the full course, you can go on Udemy or Blender Market. Other than that, thank you for watching. Please follow us, and I provide you with more useful videos every week.